Hi, everyone, and welcome to Give Me 10 short, relevant conversations about ministry and leadership. Today, we have a special guest, Vanessa Hairston, and we're going to talk about PKs,
Mhm.
pastors' kids. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right. So, I have basically three questions for you. The first one is, as you look back, you being a PK, a pastor's kid, what were some of the positives of being a pastor's kids? Let's start with the positives.
Man, I love the fact that I was able to travel a lot with my family, with my dad specifically, which is you. So you were able to allow us to travel. That was my favorite things. It was just knowing like, oh, okay, like we're going to take a 2-week trip to California or wherever dad is being invited to speak. So I loved that. I also loved hearing you preach. That was something growing up I really liked. I got to hear my favorite speaker all the time.
Okay, well, I'll send you the check later. Thank you. All right. What were some of the drawbacks? What was some of the not so nicer things about being a PK? No matter what kind of profession your parents have, there's always a good and a bad. I imagine doctors' kids feel a certain way about their parents, or mechanic kids, or airplane pilot kids, or administrative assistant kids. No matter what job, there's good and bad. So what were some of the not as positive parts of being a pastor's kid?
I would say maybe expectations, undue or unfair expectations. I would get it sometimes from adults, but I think you guys did a good job of kind of like filtering that out. But obviously, kids my age, you guys don't have as much of a handle on because I'm the one that hangs out with. I used to be the one that hung out with them. And so there would be like certain time, oh, like we can't say this because, the pastor's kids are here, or we can't do this. And there's a certain age where you're like, yeah, you can, like, it's okay. And so you're fighting this battle within yourself to like be true to what you believe, but also you want to be accepted and not have like, you don't want people to put on masks while you're around. So it was hard to make really deep friendships that I knew like I could be myself completely, and they felt especially that they could be themselves completely.
Fantastic. All right. So the primary audience for this video is ministry leaders. That includes mostly pastors, but some other ministry leaders as well, people that work at the different levels of the church. What would be a couple of things that you would want them to know, them to understand, them to act upon concerning their PKs? What would be some of the things that you want us to hear? Like, hear this, understand this, act on this. What would
Mhm.
two of those, two or three of those be?
Yeah, I would say fight the urge to do a 90-10 split. Okay, I say this because there's 100% of you, 100% of your effort, of your time, of your presence, like just being there, not even having to do that much. And 90% of the time, we can also often fall into these traps. 90% of the time, we're putting our best effort to our ministry, whatever it is that we're doing. We want to make sure that people are visited. We want to make sure that people have really good sermon content. We want to make sure that the church is mission driven and all of these things that are really good. I mean, they're not bad. But then that 10% is like the time that you dedicate to your family, right? It's like whatever you have left over for the day, like that's what they're going to get. They're going to get the final end of the straw. They're going to get your 5 minutes of attention and then conk out after that. And so my suggestion would be to push it a 60-40, where a lot of your time, Ellen White talks about this too, Auntie Ellen, of course. She talks about the benefits and the ministry that should happen in the family primarily, and how things overflow from there. Your family should be the foundation from what you do. And I would frame it like this. Imagine that you are in heaven and you see all of the people that you minister to over the years. You see elder so-and-so, and they're like, thank you, pastor, so much, or thank you for all the writing that you did in the articles, and oh, thank you so much, it touched my life. And you see someone that you visited in the hospital, another person that you opened up your house to, and you're so excited that they're there and that you knew that you played a part in their walk, but you look to your right, you look to your left, and your kids aren't there. Right. So like, imagine yourself in that place. And that's what we want to avoid, is that you feel like your primary calling is to the people that are outside of your family. When I think on the flip side, it should be the people who are in your family. So there's that 90-10 split. And then the other thing I would suggest is being intentional, as intentional as you are to do this with yourself and with your congregation, is teach your kids how to love Jesus for themselves and to know him as an individual individually. It's really easy in pastoral families to get swept up in everything that we do for God, right? Like we go to church 3 times a week, or we visit the conference office if you're in that administrative role. We're there all the time, and we're doing programs, we're feeding the homeless, and we can do all of these things and miss Jesus completely. Right. So what are you doing to bring your children to the throne room of God for themselves? How are you allowing them to take hold of it individually and say, yeah, this is my God, not the God of my parents. Right. We see this need in the Bible with the Israelites, this need to take the faith that not only your parents believed in, but that you need to now do and enact for yourself. I think practical ways to do that are family plans, where everyone is reading a specific thing. They do it separately, and you guys come back and talk about it at the end of the day. That way, it's not just the parents always leading out, but there's initiative for each individual person to do something on their own, to make their own time for it. Having family worships and allowing the children to lead as soon as they get old enough that they can kind of do it on their own independently, allow them to lead a worship versus mom and dad always doing it. And we're doing the same thing every day because mom and dad don't have time to plan something every day. So yeah, make Jesus a real person versus a bunch of stuff that happens.
Got it. Now, as we are in conclusion, we're closing this segment. What would you tell to some parents who might be listening to this that maybe have young adult children or adult children who have decided to walk away from the faith or disconnect from the faith because of whatever reason? Maybe they were hurt along the process. Maybe they never experienced Jesus for themselves. Maybe there was some religious trauma or church hurt. And somebody who's watching this, who's a pastor, been praying for them. What kind of encouragement can we leave them with concerning their young adult kids and their adult kids about the power of prayer and the capacity of God to be greater than our mistakes as a parent?
Absolutely. I think that there's such a fear. I'm not a parent yet, but I can imagine just the fear of I messed up. Like I messed up so bad and there's no coming back. But the Jesus that I see in the Bible is the one that on the cross gives the thief who's hanging there who's guilty, right? A chance to come into his kingdom. I see a God that through his pain and suffering allows a centurion to say, wow, this is really the Son of God. Like there is no, I think that we think that, if we don't do it in the next year, that the door is going to close, right? Mm-hmm. But God never stops chasing after. So know that even in times that you're not able to reach, God is always chasing after your kid. He's never going to stop. And he's the God of the whole universe. So that's a pretty good person to go looking after your kid. Praying can be the most vital tool because it releases your control, right? It's out of your control. And so you have to trust that God is working even when you can't see it. Mm-hmm. And just be present. Ask questions. You'll want to maybe control things like, oh, no, don't do this or don't do that. Don't. Just be present. Ask questions. And let that mend relationships.
Yeah, I remember somebody, Pastor Anna, gave me some really good counsel back in the day, and she said there comes a time, right, that you need to stop intervening and start interceding.
Correct.
Ramp up your interceding and stop your intervening. So I thought that to be helpful. Well, thank you very much. Send greetings to your husband and your church family. And this has been Give Me 10, short, relevant conversations about ministry and leadership. And today's topic was PKs, what can we do, what shouldn't we do, and what hope is there as we deal with them. Thank you, Vanessa, for being our guest today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.